right, so we have chairs down there. We have an empty chair for Jeff.
Like plenty sort of.
Yes.
Put it back up. What do you think, Jeff? I think what Tim said is right.
So let me know when you start and then start the time.
All right, this on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's on?
No. Turn it on.
On, hello?
Push it all the way up, Tim. Hello.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, guys, everybody in here knows me. My name's Tim Anderson. Let me tell you a couple things that I did at the House of Delegates that I want to continue to do in the Senate. First, I was able to get a bill through that lowers the penalties to businesses on litter tax. Litter tax is a ridiculous, stupid nuisance tax that is imposed on businesses with a 600% penalty if you don't pay it by May 1st. It's unbilled. We were able to get that penalty tax repealed until this Department of Tax sends notice to the businesses. It's a nuisance tax. I filed a bill to try to get rid of the animal tax. We have a ridiculous law in Virginia that says if you don't pay $7 or $10 to your locality, that they can come kill your dog. That's the law in Virginia, and you have to pay that annually. Try to get rid of that. I've met monster resistance in the House. I'm not exactly sure why. It's a stupid little nuisance tax. I championed the bill to get rid of the car tax. The car tax is a terrible thing. I wanted to do that by constitutional amendment. You probably know that Governor Gilmore did that, did a little bit of that at the time, and the Democrats reversed it. We tried to get this done in a constitutional amendment so it can't be reversed. That didn't get through, but no constitutional amendments got through at all this year. The House didn't let anything out. We're going to try to get that back next time we can file constitutional amendments. And finally, I was the chief co-patron to reduce the income tax and eliminate the income tax in over 5 years. Look, the biggest threat to Virginia is Tennessee. Tennessee is exploding in growth. Virginia is stagnant. People are moving to Tennessee out of Virginia. We've got to start competing with states that don't have state income taxes. And the only way to do that is to start getting on a plan to reduce state income taxes. So I'm all about economics, trying to make Virginia a little bit better to live in, cheaper to live in. Child care is 50%, 35 to 50% higher in Virginia than it is Tennessee. People are going to Tennessee. Minimum wage is lower in Tennessee. Everything about Tennessee is working right because it's run by Republicans. And so we're just trying to be able to fairly compete with our neighbors in North Carolina and Tennessee. So that's what we've been doing, and I hope to continue that in the Senate. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christie Craig, and I'm running for the 19th Senate District. A little bit about myself. I started in the Sheriff's Department in 1987, spent about 15 years there. Went to the Chesapeake Police Academy in 1995. And then in 2001, I started working for then Delegate John Cosgrove from the Virginia General Assembly, and I have been there for the last 23 years up in Richmond. Most important thing I did was I was on the Chesapeake School Board for 3 terms, 12 and a half years. And that's where that was the most important thing I ever did, was working to protect our kids. We were one of the first school divisions to get our kids back in school. And we were one of the first divisions to start standing up for parents. I stood up in the very beginning. I was by myself fighting until parents started deciding that, yes, they need to be involved in their child's education. We fought the dirty books, gender queer and other things. And we also, my last one was the satanic group that wanted to come to Chesapeake. Unfortunately, I was not able to see that through because my term ended in December of this year. This election is so very important. And taxes, this past year, we just took the grocery tax from 1.5% to 1%. And so little things like that will help our citizens. And that's what I want to do. I have some ideas about the car tax plan. I'd love to talk about it in detail later. And that will give us immediate tax relief. So I look forward to the conversation and the questions tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so first question is, we have a divided, General Assembly. The Senate is controlled by the Democrats and the House by the Republicans. So assuming that stays the same, how would you get it passed? That the car tax, you both spoke about it. Yes.
Okay. 2 minutes?
One
minute.
minute.
All right.
Well, actually, she should go first.
Okay.
You started.
Thank you.
I had it in my mind, she was gonna stop at one ladies first.
Right, so it's the tax that everybody dreads. So when Gilmore put it in, it was supposed to be alleviated in 2002, and we all know that did not happen. But what happened in 2006, and I was in the General Assembly with Senator Delegate Cosgrove at the time, we came up with the Personal Property Tax Relief Act of 2006. So the state started putting $950 million in a fund, and then it would go out to localities. That's where you're getting that little discount on the first $20,000 of your vehicle. That has not gone up, and neither has the amount of money that the state has put in. I want to work to get the state to put in more money for that, and then we can tie it to revenue. When we have a revenue plus, they put more money in every year, and then take the 20,000 and up it to 30,000, because we know now cars don't cost 20,000 or 30,000 or more. You know, it's almost the price of a new home. So that's would be immediate relief to our tax, to our citizens right then. We won't have to wait for 3 years for a constitutional amendment. Thank you.
Tim?
All right, so half of the money in the localities goes to schools and half of it goes to all the other operations. The problem with local government is it's bloated. It's bureaucratic in layers of bureaucracy. The superintendents of schools in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake both make Virginia Beach makes $330,000, Chesapeake makes $250,000. That's insane money. There's 224 employees in Virginia Beach that make over $100,000, and of them are teachers. There's 132 in Chesapeake that make over $100,000, and of them are teachers. Diversity, equity, inclusion, all these knuckleheads are in state government or in local government making way too much money. The way you reduce taxes is you reduce the size of government. We don't need to keep funding the overbloated government. We need to start contracting the government, and especially in the schools, not the teachers, not the classrooms, but the overpaid bureaucrats at the top. Millions and millions of dollars at the local levels can be cut, and that would require less money to be taxed upon the citizens. That's how you can create immediate results, is to shrink the size of government.
Thank you. Okay, so Tim, stay up, this was for you. It says at one point in time, you said you weren't going to run. Why did you change your mind? Also, do you presently live in this district?
So she's going to answer that question too.
Well, no, we'll have to give her a different
Okay,
one.
all right. All right. So I have a condo in the district and I live there. I'm there now. My wife is still in the other house. The state law says you don't have to actually live in the district until election day. But I'm over here anyway on the East Beach side of Norview Avenue. That's where I live. I'm there every night unless I'm out of town. And so I do live there. I did say initially when Christie called me the day after she ran and she asked me if I was running, I said, I don't think so, because I thought Tanya Gould was running at that time. When Tanya said she wasn't going to run, I decided to jump in, and that's where I am. We are moving. My family, regardless if I win or lose on this, we're moving to Croatan, which is in district. My law office is right over here in district. My gun shop's right over here in district. It's closer to me to be in the 19th district than we currently live way out in Chesapeake Beach. So I'm here regardless of whether this election goes my way or not.
Okay, we need questions for both candidates.
Yeah, I can answer that if you would like.
Why did you decide to run?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. So I do live in the district. I moved before I decided to run. Why I decided to run is because I have experience with Senator Cosgrove for the last 23 years. And when Mr. Anderson, he contacted me, I did not call him, and he asked me, was I going to run? And I said, absolutely. And he said he would not challenge me. But that's okay, because this is politics and everybody can change their mind on this. But I decided to run because I had the experience. I've been working with the senator for 20 years up in Richmond. I know the district, I know the citizens, I know the constituents, I know what is important to be for the taxpayers, and I have the experience, local government and state government as well. Thank you.
Okay, so stay up. So give us two types of bills that you would propose if you were elected.
All right, well, first I would try to look at the car tax to alleviate some of that relief. That's very important. Another one would be real estate, capping the real estate for localities for 1% over the previous year. That's a really big detailed explanation, and I don't have much time, so that would be one. Another one would go back to ID voting. Let me just tell you, we need ID voting. We should have to show our ID for everything. We should be showing it to vote. That's our most sacred thing. So I would definitely support that, and then take the 45 days to 10 days for early voting. There is no reason we should be voting 45 days before an election. Thank you.
Tim, two bills would you put in?
So guys, look on your table, you should have this little flyer. This is 10 bills that I plan on proposing. I did the same thing whenever I filed, whenever I ran for delegate, I proposed the 10 bills I would propose, and I filed each and every one of those bills and I advocated for them. So you can see the 10 bills that I've already intended on filing. I think that on the list, you know, I was the only guy talking about the car tax. That's always just been me. And I'm glad that Christie's talking about it. I hope that that happens if she wins or if she goes up, that we actually get rid of this car tax. That's number one on my list. The second one is dealing with state universities. You know, there's 500 state employees in Virginia, and 498 of them, the 500 top paid, 498 of them are college professors. The highest paid college professor in Virginia makes $1 million, and he's at ODU. That's state money, not like, you know, money from a booster program. It's out of control. And we're telling Virginia families that they have to pay more in tuition. Nobody's talking about that. And we have to get control of the eggheads at the college level and bring their stars in line.
Okay, Tim, what was your most controversial bill that you proposed that didn't get passed?
So I proposed the bill to restrict the pornography in our schools. There is one video in the entire House of Delegates annals that has a parental warning on it. And that's when I read the dirty books on the House floor, because constantly the school boards, the liberal school boards and the media were saying there's no such thing. You're just going after gay people. You're not trying to, you're just being homophobic. And we read the books on the House floor. We had to excuse the children. It was an embarrassment, but it sent the ball rolling, and now school boards and the public and the media are awake. It was absolutely the most important work I've done, because it's gotten a lot of traction at school board levels. Isle of Wight, Virginia Beach just had a policy. They're talking about it. It's in the paper today. So we're really starting to make progress on that. These books have blowjobs in them, guys. I mean, there's sex. Got to get them out, right? They don't belong in kids' libraries. And I was really happy that we were able to make a public conversation about that on the House floor.
Amen.
So Christie, was there any controversial bill that Senator Cosgrove had that you helped work on, and what was that? And would you put it in if you were elected?
He put a bill in back when he was in the House of Delegates of people having babies and then dumping them in dumpsters, and you know, when they were born alive. And it just so happened that year we carried that one had been dumped in Western Branch section in the park. So he put this bill in because it was not a charge to dump a body. And most of these kids, these babies that were born, were alive. But because sometimes it was in the heat, it was hard to detect if they were alive born. In the wintertime, you could almost tell if they were born alive. So you could charge them with murder. He put this bill in and we were attacked. I was attacked personally. He was attacked. They threatened us from all over the United States. He was on CNN. And basically we had to pull that bill for our life, for safety of our life. I would definitely try to push for that again. We should protect our babies. And there's too many people out there that would love to adopt them.
Okay. So what is happening about the coming waters? Oh, no, you were supposed to answer the same question. Oh, no, that was fine. So you're up again. This is hard because there's not three people. But you stay up. What is happening about the coming water shortage? You heard anything about that?
No, have not heard about a water shortage. In Virginia Beach or Chesapeake or our district, or?
I don't know. I didn't write the question.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I cannot even give you a answer to that because I'm not sure the direction of that or even what it means. So apologize.
Okay. You don't know anything about that either. Okay, so we'll go on to another question, Christie, if you want to stay on. Would either of you consider statewide elimination of all county governments, not to eliminate duplicate services? I'm assuming that within a county, there are city governments within the county. I don't know, because we have a city.
So we have the city of Chesapeake, the city of Virginia Beach.
Well,
I don't want to ever see anybody duplicate any service. And so I would not want that, but again, we don't have counties inside our city, so I'm a little confused on that one.
yeah, I mean, there are some places that have county government, but
not ours is the city of Chesapeake and the city of Virginia Beach. Yeah, maybe the localities where Senator Cosgrove used to represent out in.
that was your question?
Yeah, that was my question. You know, many states have eliminated county governments because there is duplication of service.
Do we have that in Virginia?
We have counties.
We have counties. Do they have cities within counties?
No, they're just.
But what they do is they incorporate the government into something called a city government, or it can be called a regional government, but it's not duplicated, so that we do have governments inside counties, and we have counties, and they duplicate.
Okay. So never mind. If there was cities within inside a county.
I would have to really research that and talk to people, bring people to the table to discuss it, because I think that's so important. I don't want to ever duplicate anything, because I think that's a waste of taxpayers' money. So I would be interested if that ever were to happen, talk to people, bring everybody to the table, and let's try to figure out if that would be something we could move forward.
Tim?
I don't think my microphone's working. Hello? Turn it on.
Does it go off automatically or something? This.
Hello.
We shot one all the way up. It's working.
Hello?
This one works really well.
All right.
So we'll share like we did last time.
So I see it all the time with that, what you're talking about. It happens like in, for instance, Charlottesville. So Charlottesville and Albemarle courthouses are literally right next door to each other, they're across the street from each other. Stanton and Waynesboro, like you see in Roanoke, Salem courthouses are across the street. That's nonsense. You know, look, we don't need county sheriff running police force, and having police force running police force in the same jurisdiction. Overlapping, we have too much government. If there's anything I'm going to stand for, it's about shrinking the size of government. That's a great place to start. But if there's two services provided to a community, one's county, one's city, those are duplicative, and those should definitely come offline. And the courthouses should be closed. There's way too many of those out there, these little cities inside of a county. So there's a lot of things we can do in that area for sure, and save the taxpayers a ton of money.
All right. Well, Tim, you're up next. So should Virginia Beach move our green line even further? You might have heard about Project Wayne.
Yeah. So I don't 100% think that it's my job to talk about that. I'm going to be running at the state level. We elect our local government to make those decisions. It's not really the state's job to tell the localities exactly how to run their city. I think we can provide state guidance on certain things, like maybe don't build a community if the schools are overcrowded, which is a problem I'm talking about in Chesapeake. I think we can probably leave those decisions to the local government. They know best of whether that should happen.
Okay, Christie, I don't know if you have any areas that are supposed to be like, you know, only farmland or anything like that, you know, just, I'm sure you do, zoned agricultural like we have here, and we call it, it's below the green line.
Right.
Would you also want to like rezone that and do more development in Chesapeake?
Right, so the green line it came into existence back in 1979. I don't think the city expected it to still be here in 2023. And of course, they wanted all the growth in the northern end and not in the southern end farmland. I have a 50 acre tree farm, and so I bought that tree farm, my husband and I, so we could relax in the country, and you know that's a wonderful place. So, but again, like Mr. Anderson said, it's not our job to really get involved in the local government. I don't want the federal government telling the state what to do. They're a hot mess up there, and I would hate to start this precedence of letting different government entities come in and tell someone how, you know, what to do and how to do it. So definitely I would not get involved in that, but I would encourage open dialogue. I'm a communicator, so I like to talk to people. I'd love to have meetings, and I would definitely try to formulate conversations with local government and state government, because, you know, my job is to build relationships with the state government, the local government, and you know, build relationships, because we want our place to be a better place to live, raise.
Okay, all right, stay up, Christie. Our elections have not been fair or honest. What will you do to facilitate election integrity and renew our faith in elections?
Well, like I said, some of my platforms is bring back voter ID. You know, I was been up in Richmond for 23 years, and we were in the majority, and then we were in the minority, and now we're halfway in between. And I love being in the majority. And we got a lot, Senator got a lot done, and I worked with him. And so one of the things was ID voting. That was the first thing the Democrats took away from us, because that's one of the ways that they can cheat. I'm sorry, it is what it is. You have to have an ID to do anything in this world but vote. So I would definitely bring back that. I'm hoping that we can get a Republican Senate and keep the House to do that. And again, we don't need 45 days to vote early. You know, 2 weeks is really too much. I personally love to go the day of, but I know we're trying to beat the Democrats, so we're trying to get ballot harvesting. We're trying to get people to go to the polls early, sign up for permanent, voter, to go vote, and they bring you the ballot, and you get it every year or every election, the permanent ballot. But at the end of the day, I love to go vote on my days. I'm proud of that. So I would definitely try to keep that going.
Tim?
So there's not a Republican on the planet that doesn't think we need photo ID. In fact, 85% of Americans think we need photo ID. I think that's a good thing to do. But here's the real existential threat to voting: same day registration. All right. So if you saw what happened this past year, 30,000 people same day registered to vote. Now think about that, because Jason Mira has only won by 27,000 votes. All right. So when we're talking about students coming in and voting that may have also voted in Ohio or Kentucky or wherever else they live, that is a real problem. And we're talking about small margins of victory. You have 30,000 more people same day register. You can't verify who they are. They may be registered somewhere else. We're doing this all so fast. That is going to sway elections. When Glenn Youngkin won by 50,000 votes, we had 30,000 people vote this last election. That's only going to get worse. That is a train wreck happening. We have to get that under control, or we're never going to win a statewide election ever again.
Okay, so Tim, stay up. Our schools have been inundated with illegal, immigrants. So we have a lot of students, in school that don't speak English. This has been very costly, for schools. Do you have any proposals to help that? I mean, is there any bills or additional money to help English as a second language?
Yeah, English. So, it's funny how Vicki Manning got in trouble for saying we don't have enough money for English as a second language. And then we were in the House the very next day, and they're saying we don't have enough money for the English as a second language. She got in trouble. We're saying it in the House. So I think here's the thing. The public school system is a hot mess to begin with. It's way overfunded in some areas, way underfunded in others. And the way underfunding deals with the kids, and the way overfunding deals with the esoteric directors and policymakers at the top. You can fix English as a second language. You can fix giving kids a free public education if you decentralize it. Decouple from Richmond. Richmond shouldn't be telling Chesapeake how to run their schools. Washington shouldn't be telling Richmond how to run their schools. Chesapeake should be telling Chesapeake how to run their schools. And I think if the localities could have more control and not have to be so regulatory dealing with up chain, they'd be able to get a lot more done and be a lot more efficient. Education is best at the local level.
Christie?
Thank you. I totally agree. This is not working.
Again?
Turn it on. Turn it on. Just go like this. Oh, I love you so much.
Sorry. Yes, so I agree. So I served on the school board for 12 years, and that is our funding is like a little over 12,000 per child. And I also think that our school system, especially under the Democratic leadership, failed our kids, failed our parents, failed our kids, and we saw that during COVID. It was very obvious. And so, I never thought I'd say this, but I think money should follow the child to a certain extent, or, and so we need to get back to educating our kids, but having parents have a say-so in that, because at the end of the day, our kids and our parents are the number one reason why we have a safe city and a school education. That's very important, because that's our economic development. People move in because of education. I want to talk a little bit more about education, but I think I'm getting ready to get the stop sign, so I'll do that in a few minutes.
Okay,
Like
so
a little bit more time and less questions, maybe.
Yeah.
You're asking deep questions. Do the best we can.
okay, well,
Good.
You want 2 minutes?
At least
You want to
maybe
increase
90
it a little?
seconds.
2 minutes again?
okay,
It's
all right, if you need 2 minutes to answer the question. So the last question was on legal, and so you get the next question, right? So will you initiate an investigation into local developers doing backdoor deals?
Okay, well, I guess that's on the local level. Again, our city council approves the development. We have a zoning, we have a planning, they go through a process, it goes to council, and council votes for this development. And so backdoor deals, I'm sure it happens. It's probably happened a lot of times. But again, I'm running for state senate, and again, we just cannot get involved in those issues. But I would say if people brought that to my attention, again, let's have an open dialogue. Let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going on, where they think that the illegal activity is coming from. Because if there is illegal activity, then we need to look at it a little bit further. But, you know, development is a local issue. It's a local issue, and it's closest to the people, and the people elect the council and the school boards. And so that's where that should stay. The state is a little bit higher. We do sometimes, you know, put unfunded mandates on our localities. When I was on school board, the state gave us a lot of unfunded mandates that we had to adhere to. But at the end of the day, you know, we weren't micromanaged. Again, we don't want the federal government micromanaging us and so forth.
Tim?
All right, so we're not Congress. You may see Congress do investigations. That's not how it works in the General Assembly. We're there for 60 days on our long year, 45 days on our short year. And in that time, we're going through 1,000, maybe 1,500 bills rapidly. I mean, it is insane, the work that we do up there in those 2 months or month and a half. We're not doing investigations. That's not how your part-time General Assembly works. If there's a crime that's occurring in your locality, the Attorney General's job, that's his job, or that's your local police department's job. But we're not a legislator where we get just to sit around with our feet on our desk and just pull up investigations and investigate people. That's not how your Virginia General Assembly works. So no, I wouldn't do that, because we don't do that. That's up to law enforcement's Attorney General's office for local police.
Okay, Tim. Everyone is pro-business. However, knowing how to grow a business is a skill unique to the business owner. What private sector experience in business would you apply to the office?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a law firm. I've had it for 20 years. I have a gun shop. I have this little real estate business. I know what it's like to have to write a paycheck, and I know what it's like to not get a paycheck because I have to pay my employees and there's not enough money to pay me sometimes. That happens. I know what that's like. What's really tough is when you have to write this $7,000 personal property tax to the city of Virginia Beach for your business receipts tax, or your $7,000 tax in the middle of May for your vehicle tax or for your real estate tax. You know, like, we are trying to run businesses here, and everybody thinks businesses are supposed to be the economic drivers of the community. It's difficult. It's hard to do, especially if you're a small business owner. And so I want to employ more people, but if I have to pay $30,000 in local taxes, which is what my businesses pay every year at least, that's just one less employee I'm going to have. We can stimulate government we can stimulate the economy by reducing taxes on people and letting more people working without having to pay the government quite as much to pay these $200,000 and $300,000 salaries to school board members, not school board members.
Yes, please.
Administrative staff, Christie?
Well, I just had a small little consulting and catering business, so I wasn't really large at that. But what I do know is small businesses are the backbone of our country. We were founded on small businesses, and so when I'm traveling the district, the first thing I do is I always eat at a local lunch spot or dinner spot, or I go shop at a local boutique, or I drink coffee at a local shop, because we've got to patronize them. We need them in business. And so what we should do is we should support our small businesses, keep them open. So I would do anything I could to help a business stay open and thrive, because they are, again, the backbone of our country.
Okay, so stay up with the tremendous excess revenues flowing into the state. What will you do to convince Dems to reduce taxes?
I'm not a miracle worker.
We need you to be.
That's a heavy lift. So we do have a $3 billion surplus right now that's just sitting there, because the Democrats don't want to give some of the money back to our citizens. And so I do believe that after the primaries, I think that it's going to come back maybe the end of June, and they'll vote on that. And again, the House, Republican House, and the governor want to give a portion of that back to the citizens, and it should go back to them. And so at that point, I would hope that we're in a Republican-controlled House and Senate next year, so we can definitely make sure that happens if we ever have a surplus again. But for right now, I do believe waiting until after the primary that some of the Democrats will come on board and support that. I think that's why we've been strategically waiting to do a budget, is because I think they want to get through the primaries. But encouraging them that they are not people that want to give back to the citizens. They want to spend it And so honestly, I don't think I have the power or even, or am able to get them to do that, but I would definitely always try everything. So, you know, you always keep trying, but at this point, right now, let's try to get that budget passed with the $3 billion and let's give some back to the citizens right now. And then you elect a Senate Republican controlled Senate and keep the House and deliver that to Youngkin, and I guarantee you, you'll see action, relief.
Sam?
So a lot of people say there's not a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats. I've heard that a lot, but there is really a fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats. Reagan said, the smaller the government, the bigger the person, the bigger the government, the smaller the person, right? That is the bedrock of what it is supposed to be a conservative. We've lost our way on that because Republicans spend money just as fast as Democrats do and borrow money. I mean, that's out of, certainly at the federal level, it's out of control. But the real truth is this, is that Democrats want to grow government. They believe government knows best. I believe that we should shrink government. Now, I will tell you that a lot of my colleagues don't see government that way. A lot of my colleagues think that the size of the current government is appropriate. I disagree with them. I think we could go into Virginia Beach and Chesapeake right now and fire 30% of the top people in the school administration buildings and nothing different would happen. I think you could do that. And I think you could do that at all the other local levels. I think all these overpaid directors and all these overpaid state employees, all these college professors that are making $500,000 salaries, could substantially reduce their salaries and nobody would notice the difference. We are just, the term self-licking ice cream cone, as something I say a lot. Government does nothing but serves itself. Government doesn't produce anything. All right, don't think that the government's building a road and it's producing something. The government's just taking your money and giving it over here to this person. So reducing the size of government is absolutely a very core principle of mine, a Reagan principle that we've got to bring back to the conservative Republican Party.
Christie? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Tim. Hampton Roads has a high amount of human trafficking. What, if anything, can we do to curb that?
Yeah, so human trafficking is a huge issue. You know, there's realistic reports that Virginia Beach might be the hub of all of human trafficking on the East Coast. There is legitimate concern that even in something in the water that people are missing right now. You don't hear about that in the media, but that women are missing from this event. How do you fix human trafficking? Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are outside the control of the state. A lot of the human trafficking occurs from out of the country. The people are being smuggled in off through our porous southern borders. But what you have to do with human trafficking is really this, is you have to have a hard, strong penalty for those that are caught human trafficking. These Johns, or whatever you want to call them, traffickers, coyotes, or whatever they are, when they're in the country and they're moving women around. I'm not talking about children. These are adult women that are being trafficked. When you catch them, they need to be locked up, and you have to lock them up over and over and over. Now, that's something the Democrats don't want to do. We had a bill this year that said drug dealers who sell fentanyl should go to jail as first-degree murderers, right? Because it's a terrible drug and it's killing people, it's poison. The Democrats said, no, we don't want that. But then they have a bill that says if you punch a bus driver, that's 6 months in jail. If you punch a bus driver, you would get 6 months in jail. But if you sell a drug, a fake Adderall to your friends and they die from it, we're good with that. That's how the Democrats think. And so human trafficking has to be all law enforcement. We have to invest more into the ability to detect and intercept.
Christie?
Actually, what he said was perfect. You know, we have someone that was ran for office that was sex trafficked, and now she works for the AG's office, and she works with the federal government in this. It's something serious. Here's the deal. Until we start locking people up for the crime, and I mean, you know, people are afraid, oh, we can't put them in jail for so many years, that's wrong. You know, we need to start making examples. We need to make examples of them. I have no problem with you do the crime, you pay the time. You know, you should go to jail. And so with that, we have in our system in Virginia Beach and probably in Chesapeake, people that are taken outside the area, they're taken to another area. They're not even around here. They take them out, out of the state, out of the country sometimes, and then you never find them. They're lost. I don't know if y'all read about a sex offender home just recently. They found about 7 dead bodies. They were looking for 2 girls and they found some more bodies. And that's a huge issue as well. That's not sex trafficking, but it's a serious issue. At the end of the day, the Democrats don't want to put anybody in jail. They don't want to put anybody in jail. They want to lower the time that you serve. They want to make things just a civil penalty, or, they don't want their people going to jail. For what reason? I don't know. They would rather we have criminals on the street, and they would protect the criminals. We have some people up in Richmond that have been to jail and that have committed a crime or that have been charged with a crime. And so, they're running the show in the Democrat Party. And so we need to start making examples of these people, and I will be the first to do it.
Okay, Christie, stay up. So, what accomplishments did you have while you were on school board?
The last 3 years were the main focus of my term for 12 years, and it was the COVID and the mask. I fought the mask mandates. I fought for parents' rights. 1-240.1. It's in the Code of Virginia. It says the parents have the fundamental right to protect their children, education, medical, so forth, and their well-being. We were the first to get our kids back in school. For 2.5 years, our kids were just running the streets. They got involved in TikTok. They got involved in gangs. They were not educated. Our kids were about 3 years behind. And the Democrat leadership in Richmond is at fault 100%. It was their fault. They failed our kids. They used our kids for their own reasons, and that is shameful. Again, I fought for the books. We had the books in our schools, and we found out, I said, where are they coming in from? Can't imagine our librarian is saying, let me order genderqueer. They're not. Where we found out they were coming in, because I asked for a study, was, librarian buys a bunch of books, 200, 300 books from a publisher. Then they go, we're going to give you 50 or 75 or 100 books. And guess what? That's when they sneak these books in. I said, okay, well, what we do is the books we buy, we know, because we ordered them special. We go ahead and get those over here. The books that have been given to us free, we put aside and we go over them with a fine-tooth comb. And anything that has any sexual or thing, it should not be on the shelves for our kids to see. That is a parent's job if they want them to do that, not a K through 12. So I would work on that. And then again, like I said, the Satan group that came into Chesapeake, right now the school board is doing the new policy change. I think everybody's going to be pleased with that when that comes out. I sure wish I was there to vote on it, because I'm not afraid to vote on these things. For the longest time, I stood out and fought by myself until parents and everyone got involved. And I'm not afraid to do that. And I'll do that in Richmond for you.
So Tim, what was your accomplishments as delegate?
So I got 13 bills through the House in the past 2 years, and most of them died in the Senate, as most of our Republican colleagues, died. But I believe I was the first freshman to get 7 bills out of the House in his first year. I don't know if at least in that year, I think I had the most bills out. So I mean, that was interesting to be able to navigate that system pretty quick. The 3 bills I did get finally through, I got that litter tax bill done. I got a cause of action for sexual abuse victims who were abused by, I call it dirty clergy, by clergy members or doctors. They have now 15 years to sue. That's a new cause of action. So if a clergy member or a doctor or sexually molest somebody, they have 15 years now by statute. And then I was able to get a oyster bill that spurs recycling of oyster shells, creates a healthier, cleaner Chesapeake Bay. I've had a lot of bills about Chesapeake Bay dealing with menhaden fish and all of those bills, but I think what my biggest accomplishment as a delegate is you probably know this. I throw my weight around as a delegate to get other things done. And I think the biggest success I have on that deals with Rock Church. I mean, I don't know if you've seen what's been going on with Rock Church. That pastor got arrested up in Chesterfield for soliciting a minor, and they cut him loose for bizarre explanations. And I have been on that heavy. That Chesapeake Commonwealth attorney is probably not going to get reelected. We've brought that to the forefront, and we just learned that the Rock Church is now for sale because their people are gone. So that is a cancer, as far as I'm concerned, that is good for Virginia Beach for that to leave. It's a really bad place. Real victims have come to me out of there, and I've used my delegate weight, whatever that's worth, to effectuate things like that. Fighting with a variety of different groups, the menhaden issues, fought with Louise Lucas when she sued me for $20 million. So, I mean, I get into a lot of stuff, and I try to use my power for good, even if it's not just getting legislation through.
Okay, so Tim, stay up. So, you know, we have regional tax for, transit, right? Right now it says it can only be used for buses. We suspect that they'll somehow get that changed and they'll, be able to use it for light rail. So, hopefully you won't support that, but if it does, would you, be in favor of regional light rail funded with a regional tax in Hampton Roads?
So all the drug dealers from Portsmouth at the casino can come to Virginia Beach, no thanks. Until localities in Portsmouth and Norfolk have a reasonable police force and they have their crime under control, I'm not interested in letting anything easier come to Virginia Beach. In fact, I'd like to create a moat. And you'd have to pass it, you know, to get over here, because look, the casino in Norfolk, the casino in Portsmouth develops and breeds crime. And the people who are going to pay for it are the people in Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And we have good police forces. We have good communities. They're going to get all the benefits, all the tax revenue, and we're going to take all the pain. I'm not interested in interconnecting with Norfolk and Portsmouth when they're 50 to 60% down in their police forces. So not probably ever, but not at least until they get their act together, do I think we should be connected with in either of those hot messes over there.
Christie?
So I don't think we need to connect again with Portsmouth, Norfolk, to come to our cities. Our cities are wonderful cities, and I don't want to bring bad people into our cities, and that's what will come. We were just talking about this tonight about the casino and how I don't think they thought it out very well, because they didn't think about the infrastructure with police department right there, because there has been a lot of crime there. I mean, they're bringing in $25 million a month. This is absurd. And, you know, Chesapeake doesn't have a casino. Virginia Beach doesn't have a casino for a reason. And so I don't want the people coming from Portsmouth coming over to Chesapeake or Virginia Beach. They stay in their own cities, and we'll stay in ours. And so Chesapeake and Virginia Beach are probably the best two cities in the whole area of this, and I'm proud to have them. We have the best school system. I know there's some people that think we don't, but we do. I served for 12 years. They're not perfect, but they are a good school system. They're better than Norfolk. They're better than Petersburg. They're better than Richmond. They're high-performing school divisions and highest graduating rate, lowest dropout rate. Credentials, 5,100 industrial credentials are coming out of Chesapeake. I'm waiting on the numbers for Virginia Beach. But why does people want to come do business and live in Chesapeake and Virginia Beach? It's because of our schools. It's because of our public safety. Those are two things that drive people to our area. And so while everything needs work, while everything is not perfect, I do think we do have high-performing school divisions and law enforcement. I'll always protect our law enforcement. I'll always back the blue and our first responders. I was in law enforcement, my husband, 31 years. My son's a firefighter. That's very important to me. And so I will always continue to do that. But again, yes, I don't want to encourage bad behavior in our cities.
Okay, Christie. So, the governor came out with the new education standards, and I know at school board, we have a lot of transgender kids coming up there wanting transgender rights so that boys can go in the girls' room and vice versa. And so they're concerned about women's sports. So do you support boys saying that girls being in women's sports?
So that was another issue I thought that might be a question, so I was hoping to leave it for that. So I did fight against the transgender and the girls going into the boys' bathroom and vice versa into the gym to change clothes and crazy things like that. I don't mind offering them the nurse's bathroom, or a separate bathroom, but you know what? That's less than 1%. Why are we changing the rules for less than 1%? What about our kids? What about the 99% that we're making all these, telling the 99%, you've got to deal with this because the 1% rules? No, the 1% doesn't rule. So I will fight for that because I don't believe we should allow sports. Senator Cosgrove put that bill in this year, along with, I think, some other people, not allowing that. It's not fair game. Listen, you know what? You want to be a girl, you want to be a boy, that's your deal. It's not for me to tell you what to do, but we should not allow them to play in sports. People are going to get hurt and it's not the right thing. And I will never allow that. I will always fight for that. I fought in the schools, even when my attorney said to me, Christie, you could personally get sued for this. You could personally get sued because you're going against this, because the governor put in this bill. This was under Northam. And I said, I would rather be sued than support this. And that's how I will always stand up for the right thing. I will always be a fighter. I'm not afraid to take a stance, not afraid to make those hard decisions. I've done it for many years. I'm a mom.
Okay, Tim?
This is one of those things where there's not going to be a lot of difference between really any Republican on this issue. No Republican is buying into the fantasy that just because you think you're a girl, you're genetically a girl. Nobody buys into that. So I'll adopt many of Christie's answers as my own on that, because I think almost every Republican would say the same thing. All right, let me spend my time and talk about this. So Title I schools are schools where there's free lunch, right? And there's a lot of them. And the way they get that free lunch is from the USDA. And Biden, through an executive order, said, we're not going to fund Title I schools unless you adopt our version of LGBT rights and transgender rights. So Biden was basically telling schools, we're going to let the poor kids starve if you don't have transgender sports and transgender athletics. That's what Biden's administration did. Now, I don't know if you know how how regulations work, but it just kind of gets snuck in. If somebody doesn't catch it and talk about it, it just becomes, the regulation of the Department of Education. This is why we have to burn education to the ground. Seriously, we have to eliminate the federal Department of Education. We have to eliminate the state Department of Education, and we need to make education a local issue. Let us vote on it. Let us vote our school board, and let the school board be accountable to us. This school board in Chesapeake had no say on the masks. While they kind of disregarded it, they had no say. The state told them they had to do it. That's ridiculous. What's the point of having an elected school board if they have to do what the unelected bureaucrats in Richmond tell them to do? We have to decouple education. It is a hot mess, and it doesn't matter if you elect her or you elect me, and we stay there for 20 years. The bureaucrats will outlive us, and they will continue to push their agenda on our kids, regardless of who the governor is, regardless of who the senators and delegates are. The only way it's going to be fixed is if you decouple.
So, stay up, Tim. So, one of the things we really tried to get, passed in, the General Assembly was school choice. So it says here, we reported only 13% of Americans, 8th grade students are proficient in history, and 8th grade. I can hardly read this. As state senator, what, if anything, can we do?
So we've been wrestling with school choice. Money follows the child. So about $5,000 of state money. Should that follow the child? Absolutely. I should be able to get a voucher from the state and use it at a private school, at a Christian school or homeschool or some other public school. I should be able to do that. I have no problem with that. But that's like saying, let's reduce the size of government sometimes. The Democrats are never going to let that go through. We have asked and asked and asked and asked and asked and asked, and they've said, no, 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 no. The Democrats, this is a long game for the Democrats. We indoctrinate our children in these schools, and when they come out, they become Democrats. If we start disconnecting from the public school system and our children become more free thinkers, their plan is going to be foiled. So they don't want that to happen. They will fight tooth and nail. If we don't have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican governor, that'll never happen. We can talk about it all you want, but it will never happen, because it interferes with the long game of the Democrat Party, and they're not going to let that happen. Again, I'm all about defunding public education. It needs to happen. The whole system, we keep throwing money at the schools, and they get worse and worse and worse. And they just give us more money, just give us more money. And the results are worse and worse and worse. So the only thing to do is to start over.
Christie?
Okay, so we have a little bit of a difference. I sat on the school board for 12 years and been in Richmond for 23 years. And when the Republicans were in charge, we tried to get them, the vouchers, we tried to get the money to follow the child. And I never thought, again, like I said before, that I would say that when I started on the school board in 2010, I was all in for public education. It wasn't like it was. Things changed when COVID happened. We saw the devil come out. We saw the teachers unions turn. We could have meaningful conversations with the teachers unions. After COVID, man, they just turned and they wanted a collective bargaining. They wanted to control our schools. They wanted everything and anything. And I was like, absolutely not on my watch. I will never support collective bargaining. I will never let the liberal teachers unions in. So we fought that, the Democrats pushed for collective bargaining, that was passed. It's basically each school division has to adopt it. Of course, in Chesapeake, thank goodness, we have 9 members that are Republicans, and Virginia Beach, hopefully will not allow that. So we'll fight that. But at the end of the day, I do think that we should have school choice. I think we should have vouchers, because I do think that our education system failed our kids. And I think parents should have a right to either homeschool them, send them to a Christian school, because they're not, let's go back to the 3 R's. We're not doing that. One thing I did find out during COVID is we're not just indoctrinating our kids at the higher level. We have teachers that were doing it K through 12, and that was a very alarming, and it made me sick to my stomach. And so that right there, COVID was a bad thing, but it also was a good thing, because it opened our eyes to so many things, and I'm prepared to fight that.
Okay, as a private citizen, were you ever involved in your local government, school board, city council? If so, how?
Yes, I served 3 terms on the Chesapeake School Board. I was elected in 10, 14, and 18. I served as vice chair. I served as chair. I was, in the Chesapeake Sheriff's Office for 15 years. I went to police academy, so I have public service in my heart. I believe, we work, live, and raise our family in the community. And I want to make that the best community ever. I've been here my whole life, born and raised here. And so my kids are all here. I've never moved away. I was talking to somebody today yes, sir, that said, you've been here your whole life, you've never lived anywhere else? No. And he said, I traveled all over the world. But my son, like I said, Max said, a firefighter. My daughter, unfortunately, is in Florida right now because her husband serves in the military, in the Coast Guard. And that's another thing, supporting our military, not only with our public safety. So I will continue to fight for our military, because our veterans, we have a high concentration of veterans in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. And so they're very important to me. We put in some good laws to keep our veterans in Virginia, because Florida and Texas are taking them from us, and I'd love to keep them here. And so I would definitely look at some things about supporting our veterans too.
Tim?
So I represent a lot of schools, so that counts. So in 2020, I became engaged politically, and I was super worried about school shootings, and I think we should be. I mean, it's a legitimate concern. You go into a courthouse, there's single points of entry, there's metal detectors, there's armed guards, there's sheriffs everywhere. You go to a school, there's a sign that says, no guns, and that's it, and no other security. And so I brought what's called the Utah model to the Virginia Beach School Board. You can Google it, it made local press, and it basically, here's how it worked. Is in every school you would put a variety of workers into a sheriff's academy, and you would put them, and they'd have to go through training and be able to respond and become deputy sheriffs. And then they would go to school, and they would go in armed. And inside of their classrooms or offices, or if they're the lunch lady and they're wherever, they would have a biometric safe that their fingerprint would open, there would be a gun. That way if there was a shooting inside the building, they would be able to respond. It wouldn't take 10 minutes for the police to get there. So I advocated for that. Thank you for the one person who cares about kids. So I advocated that for the Virginia Beach School Board. I made that pitch in front of the school board, and it was like a fart in church. They were horrified. There was no opportunity to do that. So in the House of Delegates, I advocated for metal detectors and single points of entry and clear bag policies. Newport News came and said, no way, that's going to traumatize the kids. Guess what? They all want metal detectors now because a teacher got shot. These are reasonable things that we can do to make our kids more safe. And I don't understand why we protect judges with metal detectors and single points of entry and clear bag policies and guys with guns, and not our children. So we've got to get a hold of that. We've got to follow Utah. They don't have school shootings in Utah. And we just have to do what works and get away from the idea that we can't protect the schools internally.
Okay, so last question. Okay, what bill do you think you would most suggest for a gun rights 2A bill? Would you focus on red flag, limit on number of guns purchased a month, unless concealed carry, constitutional carry?
Yeah, so that's on my list, number 10, constitutional carry. Look, there's no inherent science or math that suggests that in any state, that 26 states that make constitutional carry means you don't have to pay the government to carry your gun concealed, right? So no rise of crime in any of the states where that has happened. If you want to carry a gun in your purse and you don't pay the government $50, it's a misdemeanor. And the second offense, it's a felony. In Missouri, you can carry your gun in your purse. You don't have to pay the government anything. You know why? Because the mom that's carrying the gun in the purse isn't breaking the law in Virginia and isn't breaking the law in Missouri. The people that break the law are the people that don't go get the concealed carry permits, right? And so this concept that a lawful gun owner, if the gun's in my pocket, I'm dangerous, but if it's on my hip, I'm not. That's crazy. And 26 states agree with us. Getting constitutional carry in Virginia, it would be certainly a top priority of mine. And I think it makes absolute sense and there's no science to the contrary. Now, as far as the other things go, one gun a month, that's stupid. Come to my gun shop. You can buy one pistol every 30 days. Please come here. You can buy one pistol every 30 days, but if you have a concealed handgun permit, you can buy 50 pistols, 100 pistols right now. You could go in and buy 300 AR-15s, please do, for my gun shop right now, but you can only buy one pistol per month. Give me a break. These are insane, stupid laws that make no sense, and they're called feel-good laws. It makes you feel good, but they don't really do anything practical. So there's a lot of those that the Democrats did. We can start repealing those, but if we get constitutional carry through, it will take a lot of people who get jammed up because the gun's in the wrong place in their car. It will take all of those lawful gun owners from not being criminals to being lawful citizens again. We've got to really get on that because that's how they get us.
All right, so we're both two huge 2A supporters. I was there in Richmond in 2021 when we had the largest 2A group come to the Capitol. It was the most amazing. The media said, oh, a couple thousand people. No, it was tens of thousands of people, and it was amazing.
We were there.
I was there. It was amazing. I had pictures of the whole Capitol full, and then within hours, it was empty and was clean. We left it clean. That's what we do. 2A people are not a threat to people. We save lives. We are not criminals. Constitutional carry, absolutely. I put that bill in. Vermont started it, and Florida just approved it this year. So I think now there's maybe 27. I think I researched for that. Again, one gun a month, ridiculous. Let's take that away. Again, all these bills happened because we didn't have a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican-controlled House, and our governor was not a Republican. So we can get that this year. We can repeal these. We can repeal all the gun laws that they strapped us down on, because that is what Republicans do. We don't need to be told that we can't carry a weapon to protect ourselves. Right now, I can't carry my gun in the Capitol. I used to carry my Hellcat. I used to carry a stun gun. I can't carry that anymore. So I walk blocks and blocks away as a chief of staff. The senators and delegates have a little bit closer parking space. But I had to walk 3 and 4 blocks in downtown Richmond, and it was usually at dark, and I didn't have anything to protect myself. So I want to bring that back. And then the red flag law would never support that. That's just another way for them to get in and try to control us and take our guns away. So again, I don't think there's much difference. 2A support all the way. I will fight it tooth and nail.
Okay, Christie, stay up and do your closing statement.
Okay, well, thank you
Comments.
again for having us tonight. We're in a Republican primary, and the good thing is that after June 20th, you're gonna have a Republican running in the election. And whoever wins the primary is going to win this election. So this election is very important to put somebody in there that has the experience. So you have 3 choices and we have early voting starting tomorrow morning for 45 days. This election is so important. It is so important to have somebody up there. I have 23 years of being up in Richmond and working for a man that I admire. And I wouldn't have been with him for 23 years if I didn't believe in everything he did, from protecting marriage to gun rights, to protecting babies. Let's protect babies, and let's instead of funding parenthood, let's fund adoption. I've had so many friends that had to go out of the country to adopt babies, and when they adopt the children, they're usually very ill. But they just want to be a parent. Why would we ever allow people to just abort babies? There are so many people. Let's fund adoption clinics. So I would be pushing for all of that, because I am a true proven conservative. I've been involved in the Republican Party since 1998. I've been in the trenches. I've helped every elected official in Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, all the way up to state. Mark Early, Bob McDonald, Bill Bolin, you name them. Senator Cosgrove, Delegate Cosgrove. I worked with polls for Mr. Anderson 2 years ago. Because I am a Republican and I want a Republican in office. So I am going to be a Republican that you can, I have an open door policy. You'll be able to always contact me. I love people. I love to communicate. This is your seat, not mine. The people's seat. I will never, ever, ever forget that. And I will always be humble and I'll always be appreciative of the opportunity to serve the people of the 19th district.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've done since 2020 and through the General Assembly is pretty much every day I make some kind of a Facebook post or a video about a complex issue and I simplify it down and I try to bring real good constant information. And most of the time I'm right. I won't say I've been right on every time. And when I've made a mistake, I'm pretty quick to do it. But you can generally rely on the information that I push out on my social media to be accurate. Now I'm taking complex issues and bringing them into a 2-minute video or a 3-minute video. And I've been doing that every day since 2020 when the Democrats took over and I started seeing the crazy bills that they were filing. So since about January of 2020 moving forward, something new is coming on my Facebook page every day. And I love doing that. It's easier for me to do that if I'm in the General Assembly because I'm actually in the room and I'm actually hearing what's happening and I can see what's going on. I've enjoyed that. I hope that's been helpful to you and I hope that you follow me on my social media page to get that information. Lots of you ask questions and I try to respond as best as I can. That is, I think, important to engage. I've had people come to me and say, it's the first time I've ever really understood what happens in government. And so that means a lot. By the way, my camera crew is me and my phone. Most of the time, it's literally me just doing this. Sometimes on the side of the road, you can't hear me because the trucks are driving by. I get that. But I'm here for you. I've served you. I've done everything I said I would do when I ran for delegate. And everything I'm saying I'm going to do on this list to run for Senate, I'm going for. If you disagree with anything on this list, you're not a conservative. These are all conservative principles and these are priorities that need to happen. The biggest one right now for me on top of these is really the Chesapeake Bay. It's a hot mess. We know that. We got to fix that. It's an absolute adjunct disaster in the Chesapeake Bay, and we've got to get our arms wrapped around that. It's not a conservative thing that people like to talk about. Chesapeake Bay is a real mess. So take a look at my paperwork, and I hope to have your vote tomorrow. Between tomorrow and noon.
All right, can we have a round of applause for the candidates? All right, thank you both for coming. Just wanted to let you know that today is Laura Hughes's birthday. And we're having a cake for her. So I want everybody to sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday